Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies. I am your host, Annette Smith, and our guest today is the beautiful Tara, great friend of mine. I have known her, 12 years. Amazing. 12 years. I am so grateful for you to be here today, joining us. And before we get started, I actually just have a question. I know I reached out to you, said, hey, I'm doing this podcast. I want to, ask you a bunch of questions, and I want you to build this playlist. And honestly, Tara, it was like exhausting, right? Let's be honest, right? Like this took you a long time. You were narrowing down from 7 million songs to 10.
Thousands.
And to coax you through this was like, I've never experienced that before. I was like, dude, just pick 10 songs. What's taking you so long?
So for starters, I'm going to interrupt you before, right? So we can clarify the story. You said, hey, I'm doing a podcast. Can you pick 10 of your favorite songs? And that was the end of your coaching. And then you're like, why is this taking you so long? I'm like, I'm trying to pick 10 of my favorite songs. There's so many songs. So then I picked 10 songs and you're like, hey, by the way, make sure you have a story with each of these. I'm like, well, there goes my whole list.
There it goes. No more Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I got to get some serious songs in here. So when you were going through that, how did you feel? How was that experience for you, that whole process?
I mean, for how much music I listen to, like the amount of stuff I consume and the variety of stuff I consume, it was initially really overwhelming because I didn't know how I would narrow it down to such a small group of songs. But it was also super fun because it got me thinking about stuff I haven't listened to in ages, right? But I love, and every time it comes out, I'm like, oh God, I just love this song. So it was good in that regard because, I don't know if your ear is like my ear, but every now and then you kind of get stuck into a little pothole where you're just like in the loop of the same, like 3 albums or whatever, 3 people over and over again. And all of a sudden you're like, how did I forget about this one? So it was good in that regard.
No, I love it. And how would you describe your playlist?
Diverse, very, very diverse, unpopular, unknown.
Yeah,
very Canadian, actually. My playlist is really strongly Canadian. I listen to and I source out intentionally a lot of Canadian artists. And there's just so much amazing content that comes out of this country. Not to degrade anywhere else in the world, because there's amazing music everywhere, but I search here at home.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, a lot of these songs I never heard. When I was starting to listen to like the first 3, I was like, whew, are we going to go down a rabbit hole here that I'm not quite sure that we're ever going to get out of? I'll be honest, because I was like, is there going to be lots of crying on this part? Like, what is going to happen?
I brought tissues.
But then, things started to start picking up a little bit. And I was like, okay, right. This is exciting. So I'm going to start with the first song. If you know it, say the artist and the name of the song. I'm sure you do. It's your playlist.
Okay. So that's The Head and the Heart, Rivers and Roads. Yeah. This band is super, super cool. And they're out of Seattle. And I remember like the first time I heard them was this specific song. And I love this entire album. It's one of my favorite albums ever done. It's a couple years old now. And I remember when I heard it, I was just, it was folky and then harmonic and then brilliant. And so when I went to go watch them play live, they released the second album, and I drove up to Edmonton, and I remember sitting there and I just kept crossing my fingers, like, please sing this song, please sing this song, please sing this song. And I think it's in the latter part of the song, they kind of have a bridge where they sing rivers and roads, right? And when that happens, it's the female voice that comes through, right? So the primary singer in this band is male, and then she's mostly does harmonies, but like she's got to own the stage for a second. And so when I'm watching them play on stage, and all of a sudden, like, it just basically almost like the sound melts away. There's no other instruments, and all of a sudden there's just this beautiful voice of this powerful female musician. And I was like, heavens, I love it every time. Just made me fall in love with that song even more.
Yeah, it's very pretty. What if you think of all the concerts that you've been to over the years, what was one concert that really stood out that you're like, oh my God, this is phenomenal?
One. Let me talk about one. There's like one every year at Folk Fest. And so like like my favorite thing about Folk Fest is not like the lineup that I know, it's the lineup that I don't know. So most recently, and this would have been 2018, I think. This lady out of the UK, Wallace Bird. So I'm day 2.5 of the festival at this point, and I haven't had my moment, is what I call it, my moment when I'm like just melt into the ground, like, oh my God, you are a god to this person constructing whatever. I'm getting a text from my friend Steve, and he's like, get over here right now. This is the stage. This is where I'm located. Your mind's gonna be blown. And so I watched this girl, just this 5'5", like she's tiny, she's barely bigger than me, 5'5", powerful, woman out of the UK. And she was playing her guitar, she was creating drum lines, she created a full band experience as one person on stage with these really beautiful lyrics. And I think the song I walked in on was basically like her making sex noises into the microphone. So like, I walk in and I've like kind of seen her set this up, and then part of it is just like this monster amount of moaning. And I was just like, holy crap, she's like really using that sound, and the whole thing was hot. I followed her around for the rest of the festival. She's playing a group stage. Like I was at that group stage to get as much immersion of her as possible. Waldsburg, she's out of the UK. She's really cool. She found a way to she lived in Germany for a while, so she found a way to take like German, like electronic music, and then like recreate it through an acoustic guitar. That doesn't that doesn't make sense. But she could do it live. Like it was so cool. Just her and an acoustic guitar. So cool.
Amazing. I love it, Tara. I love it. This next song I've never heard. So The Darkness.
Take a ride into the darkest light.
Rose Cousins.
Know the dark.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful voice.
So Rose Cousins is a girl off the east coast of Canada. She actually won a Juno this year, which is really exciting for her. Most recent release, The Bravado, which I super fanned and sponsored because I got to buy a vinyl record and a shirt she wore, just to give you an idea of how I feel about Rose Cousins. I love Rose Cousins. like if you could tag Rose Cousins to this podcast when we're done and try to get her to connect with me, that would be really lovely. I love
I will
Rose
do
Cousins.
that.
She's fantastic. So she's off the East Coast, and this Halloween has got a few years on it. I think it was a year or two old when I first came across it. But it was back in 2013 or 14 that I started to discover her. And this was the first song that I saw. And it was this rabbit hole of like YouTube videos that I caught. And so this was like a live performance video that I'd seen. It was her playing the song. And I just, lyrically, I love it. Like, if you take the dark out of the light, or if you want to feel the dark, right?
Yeah.
Go into the dark. If you want to feel light, or take the light into the dark kind of thing. And like I totally butchered that lyric line now that I have to think about it. But just like, I just remember just sitting there with her, listening to it. And I listened to this specific song on repeat for a good chunk of time. I listened to everything that I could consume of hers for a period of time in that moment, because it was just like, I love the way it was written. I love her voice. I like front row fangirl her whenever she comes into town. Like, I'm just like, I obsess over her. I haven't done that yet. And maybe that's why she's in Who I Am. Maybe I'll try that next time near the end of the show. So I don't.
I feel like you get a little bit more attention, right? You want to get noticed.
Maybe, too calm and reserved.
So Tara, what's your best pickup line?
I'll be the worst lady you ever had.
Yeah, I love it.
Because let's be real, right?
Yeah.
Let's be real. Your first thought was, that can't be true, which is followed by your second thought, if it is true, I can fix it.
Yeah. I think we should try it. Right? Like it's a done deal. Now, is this something that you start in the beginning of the night, or is this a middle of the night pickup line, or is this like a 1:30, 1:45, lights are just about ready to go on pickup line?
I mean, I'm usually gone by 1:30, 1:45, and like in bed and totally asleep. But if I and I am like incredibly shy, so I don't actually ever hit on anybody, but I'm pretty confident for this line to officially work, it would need to be sometime after 12:30 for it to be effective, and probably to a semi-drunk individual, and most likely to a slightly older person than myself.
Yeah, I agree.
It would not be effective if I tried this on a 20-year-old.
She might actually not hear you correctly either. And then it'd be weird. You'd have to say it again, and then she doesn't really understand. She might have to call in a friend or Google it or find out really.
Yeah, and you don't want to talk too close to the ear, right? Where it's a hot and sweaty, and then like the weird, like that's just weird stuff too, right? So that's its own level of creep. So
a 35, 40 plus pickup line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So this next song, I don't know why.
Yeah. Nora Jones. This is a throwback. Tell me you know that one. That one on the list. You have to know that one.
I do.
Okay, good.
We're good.
Okay. Because I'd be really worried if you didn't learn of this specific song off of this album, which I'm pretty confident got 8 Grammys, and it was her first major release that she ever did. It's the only major release that she ever did in the semi-popular stream of music. But this release allowed her to be able to make whatever the F she wanted to make afterwards, because she made enough money off of it.
Yeah, I don't know that much about the song, but I have
clearly I know a little bit.
I can fucking sing it, but I don't. Yeah. I didn't know how many Grammys it made.
The whole album just took the show that year, kind of like Billie Eilish just did this last year, honestly. Yeah. So this one. So when I grew up on 70s rock and country music, right? So 80s and 90s country music, 70s rock. And so when I was 16, I started to explore outside of those two genres. I moved to Fort McLeod, which is a folk music mecca. So I started hearing some small things that were outside of that range of stuff. And I don't even know how I came across this album. I think I just bought, I was literally just buying whatever I could find off the shelves and just trying it out. And if I liked it, I liked it. And if I didn't, I didn't. And so I bought this CD and a Michelle Branch CD at the same time, right? And so I shared a bedroom with my little sister, and I would constantly play Nora Jones over and over and over again. I play the album endlessly. And my sister would constantly play the Michelle Branch CD, and she's 8 years younger than me, so totally different age range. So she'd just be like, "Why do we have to listen to that?" And she'd try to force the Michelle Branch CD in there, which I also really love, but just not to the same degree as Nora Jones. Yeah. And it was right about the time I'd started singing myself. So I would sing horribly, but I would sing along with her endlessly. And so I would just keep singing. I keep singing. And it's kind of one of those voices that I tie to me and my experience of where I started to find my own voice and my own sound is really deeply rooted inside that song.
I love it. I love it, Tara. I'm excited to talk about your singing career soon. I love hearing you sing. I really, truly do. But I am very curious. What were you like growing up in high school? Were you super popular? Were you a loner? Were you a prep? Were you a rocker?
Can I tell you a really embarrassing thing about myself?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. So I was weird. I wasn't got picked on in school weird. I was didn't understand myself weird. Yeah. So most other people maybe didn't think I was weird, but I was definitely weird. Upon reflection, I was weird. So one of the things I used to do in high school is a fun tip. If you dip a pencil crayon in water, it will kind of act like a watercolor. So I used to rainbow color my eyebrows.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just
and I'm grateful. I'm grateful there is zero photographic evidence that I did this. But every time I see 16-year-old face me, I'm just oh man, what were you thinking? I literally thought it was neat and, of course, and I can't believe nobody picked on me for doing that.
We used to rub rocks together and that would make makeup. And then, not that because I was that poor, but we would do that. Me and
we would dry the cherries and then we would ground them up into powder.
And then
you pinch your teeth.
Have you ever did it? It made colors.
Well, I get that. That's where makeup comes from. They used to right? Like they would
wasn't because we were
use powder.
we were just creative children.
Yeah, and I just, was trying to figure myself out and do something different. I was uncomfortable in high school. Me personally, I felt uncomfortable in high school. And so I was always trying to find little things. I was not popular. I wasn't not popular. I played on the basketball team for a good chunk of time. I homeschooled for a year because I just felt uncomfortable. Just felt like I didn't fit in. And then I graduated out of a Mormon high school as one of the 5 non-Mormon people in the entire school that wasn't Native. And that just made me
go back to that for a quick second there. The Mormon school. How many prospects did you have there? Because, you could be a part of something great there.
Prospects?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some women there that, it's like,
so the school was right across from the temple. So there was definitely not really anybody out in high school for sure. But during the week I would live with my friend's family. So my parents were still in Granham, and so I would drive to Hill Spring and live in Hill Spring and take the bus from Hill Spring to Cardston for the week, and I lived with my friend's Mormon family. And there's more than one occasion that her mom was like, this is Jimmy, right? Like, this is Jim, he's on his mission right now. And she would literally try to me at 17 years old, try to preset me up and marry me off to her son. Honestly, it makes me giggle looking back at it now. At 17, I was like, I don't really understand what's trying to happen here. Today, I take it as a huge compliment that they were very excited to have me as part of their family permanently.
You and 16, 17 others would be Oh, this song, Red Heart. What a great song.
Yes. Hey, Rosetta. It hurt my heart. I think it was 2020 or 2019. They decided they were done as a band, and my heart was broken. And it was so hard for me to pick one of their songs. I just wanted to say, hey, Rosetta, end story. Every single song that the musicianship from this group, and they're off the East Coast as well. The musicianship from this group is just unreal. But the first time I ever heard them was off of another YouTube rabbit hole series of videos that I went through. But I watched them do a live music video in one take, and they literally drums, guitar, vocals, cello, keyboards, and they did it in this old 1900s house, right? So this old house, and they literally one taked the whole way through the house, hit all of the instrumentation. And when you take your strings and stuff and you integrate them into a song, they're usually in this swell point of music, right? And so they managed to integrate all of that stuff inside this song, perfect. There wasn't a moment where you're watching this where you're oh, you probably should have tried it. It was perfection in its artistry, in the way that they did that one shot into the song. And it just, every musician that played in that group was just outstanding. And they're Canadian, so it's a really wonderful thing.
Awesome.
The lead singer does his own stuff now, which is still really good. But I miss the Halos as a group. Yeah,
it's good. When was the last lie you told?
That I'm a virgin. Just kidding. That would be a long time ago.
25 years ago. Let's be honest.
Right. I actually don't know.
Really? Wow. That's
how little I lie. Or how unaware I am at how good at it I am. One of those two. I'm not really sure which one it is. I think it's the first one.
That's right. What are two of your pet peeves?
People who don't do what they say.
I like that.
And disorganized Tupperware cupboards.
Yes. Disorganized what?
Tupperware cupboards.
Oh, it's just Tupperware everywhere?
Yeah, number one, if I can't find the lid for the thing, I'm gonna lose my mind. Number two, if I open the door and everything falls out, I'm gonna lose my mind. Number three, if it can't all fit in there, right? it's not likely that you have too much. You just don't know what you're doing when you put it away. I get that from my mother. My mother's Tupperware cupboard is pristine. So every time somebody tells me it's Tupperware, it just doesn't get organized. I'm like, nope, I've seen it organized for 38 years. It gets organized.
Wow. That's a new one. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I'm a different type.
That's all good. Poison and wine.
Yes. The Civil Wars, again, a band that broke up. But they had amazing, beautiful harmonies together. They're unreal. They do a version of Billie Jean that would knock your socks off. It's so, so, so good. They're also why you don't sleep with your bandmates, because it always turns out wrong. So they decided to give it a go and end up breaking up and broke up the band, which is really, really sad.
Yeah, it's not
but can I tell you a really fun story about my relationship to the Civil Wars and part of why I love them so much?
Yeah.
Okay, so you like my embarrassing stories? Because this one's embarrassing.
I'm ready.
Okay, so I was chatting with this girl, and this is like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, somewhere in there. So chatting with this girl, and she also loved this band, and so we, as part of what we talked about all the time was just this particular band. So we have this date this one day, and she drives down from Edmonton, and we spend the entire day together, right? So we go for a walk. We get up to our knees in the Elbow Creek or Elbow River in the Mission area there, and we spend the entire day together. It's a great day. I know from very early on in this day of us hanging out that this girl wants to kiss me. I know that she does, and I just let it be. Like that's how I roll. I just let it be. That's the thing it's gonna be. So I'm sitting there and hanging out with this girl, and we get to the end of the day, and she's from Edmonton. She's got to drive back to Edmonton, and now we're at the point where we're going back to our parked cars. So we're going to say goodbye. And so my hyper rational brain is like, this is where the girl tries to kiss me. So I kind of immediately move a little bit closer to my car door, right? And she's parked behind me, so she's at her car door. And so you can tell her going through her shy thing and me going through my shy thing. And then basically I black out, kind of, right? I black out from all useful function of my brain. So the girl's coming up to me, right? And she's making her approach, and I can tell that she's going to try and kiss me. And then I decide, no, I'm not ready for this. So I assume the position of I'm going to hug you, which is very easily read. So she adjusts her positioning, and she's like, okay. She's like, okay, I'll hug you, right? So she moves her position. I'm like, you know what, Terry, you can put your big girl panties on. You can totally kiss the girl. It's totally okay. So then I adjust my positioning again. So she's like, oh, okay, so we're gonna do this. So then she adjusts her positioning again, and I'm like, just kidding, I'm a chicken, I can't do it. So then I go back to hug position. So she goes back to hug position, and I'm like, no, big girl panties. We can do this again. So we go back and forth like 2 or 3 times, and finally I was like, this is messed up. High-fived her, right? Never went on a date again.
I knew a Chris 5-5 was coming. I just feel it. You know what? I think we should just do a Chris 5-5.
Yeah.
Let's end this here.
High-fived. We're still friends to this day, right? But that was the end of all things potentially romantic, because I am awkward as hell. Thankfully, she also read the high five, so I did not smack her across the face, and I think that's important.
Most people need a good smack, I'm telling you. What is the last gift somebody gave you?
Oh, last gift somebody gave me. I got a pot from the dollar store for my birthday from Wendy, who took me camping for my birthday a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Because I told her I needed, she didn't need to do anything special, but I needed to know it was my birthday. So she bought me a pot that she didn't care about, but she's like, look, it's a present.
Gotta love friends like that. I love it. So there's bad ideas.
Yes, if you can handle a little bit of country honky tonk, Shayla Miller out of Lethbridge, Alberta is incredible. So she basically does this really wonderful modern throwback to 1960s, 70s Dolly Parton style country music. She is covered in tattoos. She'll cut your hair if you want to, because by day she is a hairstylist. And she usually has like, I mean, like big 1960s country music hair and bangs, and she rocks like gorgeous guitars and like the coolest, craziest outfits when she's on stage. As a writer, she's wonderful. I might have a soft spot because she like voted yes to my song one time at a songwriting contest and they ended up giving me money. So like I have a small soft spot, but this whole album, Bad Ideas, really wonderful album that she put together. I sing along to it all the time. I'm looking forward. She has a new release coming out in the next couple of weeks here that I'm really looking forward to picking up to.
So if time and money were no issue, what would your ideal week look like?
Well, there would definitely be copious amounts of guitar and gosh, I don't know if it would actually be too much different than it really is right now.
Yeah.
You know, I would read. I would just maybe go other places than just hang out COVID style in Calgary.
Yeah, like go
Right?
read in Fiji or
Yeah, exactly. Right. Go jump on a plane, find a big boat, catch a big fish, and
Yeah.
right. Ride a lot more roller coasters. I love a good roller coaster. Probably drag my mom along. We would find a few. We've actually found a few, but we just haven't been allowed to go to them. So we have a list starting.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
If you could be a celebrity for a day, who would you be and why?
Oh, let me see. Anna Kendrick.
Okay, so why?
Anna Kendrick. I think we have like the same sense of humor, so I don't feel like I would really have to change too much. And I think she's super hilarious all the time. So that would be fun to just like be cute and super hilarious all the time.
Such a good quality. I struggle with it most days being
Right?
cute.
Like how do you and like still let other people feel good about themselves when you are so cute and so hilarious.
It's a cross I have to bear, right?
Yeah.
It's a cross I have to bear. So
Oh, yes, first aid kit. So such a random band name, and I'm not really sure where it comes from.
yeah.
I mean, I love the song partially because of who they sing about in the song, and that's music that I loved and I grew up on, and I think it's great. There's this thing in Canada. It's called the Polaris Prize. So basically, they go through music across Canada and they narrow it down to a pool of albums released in a certain calendar period of time, and the winner gets $10,000 kind of thing. And so they were in contention. They were one of the top 10 bands one time. And so they were in contention when they released this album, and literally, you know, when you're in the final showcase or whatever, you perform on stage. So they performed this song, Emmy Lou, with Emmy Lou in the audience. So like without them knowing, like they preset their set, right? They had no idea she was going to be there, and they're literally singing about Emmy Lou to Emmy Lou while she's sitting in the audience. And so you get to watch this, you know, YouTube, but you can watch the video, and you get to watch them like basically you know, get the nod from Emmy Lou, like, yeah, you did it justice, right? Like you sang about me, you sang about my people, you did it well, like it's good, you didn't mess that up, which is really, really awesome. So that as a performer, I think that something like that would just be an incredible experience to go through. Yeah, incredible experience to go through. I mean, I also like to pretend I can sing at the same octaves as them, which is the very end of my range. Sounds more like a cartoon, but I do it anyways, very loudly all the time.
I love it. So I wanted to get a little bit more serious.
Oh,
I just wanted to know, Tara, when you found out that you were gay. Like when did you first know? I guess found out is not the proper word, but when did you first know that you were gay?
So I'll change your word a little bit, and I'll say queer versus gay, because I'm on the spectrum, right? I'm fluid is what I call it. But I was 8 years old, and I mean, like I knew things, but I didn't know things. And my first kiss was a girl, and I'm pretty confident that the only reason that we kissed is because what she said was, people talk about it and I just want to know what it's like, and we're really good friends. I'm pretty sure that that's what it was for her. It was not what it was for me. It was very different for me. And so then I spent, like the next chunk of years, growing up in Southern Alberta, in the Bible Belt, and they never really said gay, and they never said lesbian, and they never said any of that stuff, but they definitely strongly implied the wrongness of it, right? So I grew up, and that's where, when I say I was really uncomfortable growing up, is because, it was there and I knew it was there, but everybody told me it's not good. And I didn't understand, because it didn't feel like I did anything. It didn't feel like, like I tried. It's not like I was just like, gosh, you know what I want to be when I grow up? Queer. That's what I want to be when I grow up. I can't wait till I get to be queer. Like, it was just never a thing. It didn't process my mind. It just like, there's just this awareness of like human beings. I'm just attracted to high quality human beings. And so I always found that super challenging growing up, being in those spaces.
So when did you come out to your parents?
Second year of college.
So was it a conversation? Was it a phone call? Sit down, let's have a tea. I need to.
No, because I'm such an uncomfortable communicator. I wrote them a note and I went away for the weekend for a work or a school thing. And so I left them a note on the counter for them to read.
Oh, ding dong, there's a telegram here.
Well, I lived at home at the time, so I didn't even have to do that. I literally just left a note on the counter, right? So I lived at home, I was in college. I don't think my second semester had quite started yet. And so I left them a note, and I had a boyfriend in my first year, and then we'd broken up going into the second year, and they had lots of questions as to why, and I just like couldn't communicate why we broke up. And so I wrote them this note, and I left it on the counter, and I went away. And then when I came home, all of my stuff was in boxes on the front yard. And I, my mom, so I went into the house and was very confused, and my mom wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't look at me. So if I walked into a room, she walked out of it. And my dad sat me down to have a stern conversation with me, which was really strange. And he made this comment about like, well, at least it's you and not one of your brothers, because then we don't have to worry about AIDS. And then I had to have do you understand how AIDS happens? Like, you still have to worry about those guys. Like, it doesn't just happen to gay people. And so we had this like really redneck experience. And so I packed up my stuff and found an emergency place to live. But karma came around. So my little sister, so like they basically forbade me from hanging out with my little sister, who was younger than me. She was 12 at the time. And so she didn't really understand what it meant. So when she asked me about it, she just like, so what does that mean? Right? Like, when you say you're gay, what does that mean? And I said, well, it means that I like girls. And she said, okay, does that mean you'll be happy? And that was as much as the 12-year-old needed to understand. Does that mean you'll be happy? And I said, yeah. She's like, okay, that's cool. Right? Like, end of story. And so when mom and dad reacted the way that they did, and they closed off our relationship, like, she hounded them for 3 or 4 months every single day about how stupid they were being. And so so mom called me one day and took me out to grandma's for Thanksgiving dinner. It was really awkward. But on our drive home, she said, well, maybe you and I should go for lunch one day. And I said, okay, sure, this will be fun. So I drove back to Fort Macleod one day for us to meet for lunch. And Fort Macleod's a small town. This is where I grew up, right? There's 3,500 people there. So you basically know everybody in town. And if you go to a restaurant, it's always the same people that work there. So you definitely know the people that work in the restaurants. So mom and I sit down and we're ordering our lunch. And so I order my burger and fries or whatever. Mom orders her burger. And then she looks at the waitress and she says, and can I get a side of punani with that? And so I'm crying instantly I'm crying, right? And the waitress deadpan, she says, I'm sorry, did you mean poutine? And then mom's like, yeah, can I get a side of poutine with that? So the waitress walks away. And I'm like, I'm still to this day in tears. So then my mom is like, Tara, what did I say? It's like, mom, you ordered a side of punani. And she's like, well, what's punani? I'm like, you ordered a side of vagina.
She's like, oh.
Yeah. And that's when I knew there was a God, is that day when my mom ordered a side of vagina and she didn't even know.
That is awesome. So what, Was your first experience, like, did you lose your virginity to a male or a female?
To a man.
To a man.
Yeah.
So how was that experience? Just kind of going into that experience, like you were fine.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like my boyfriend, so I was a late bloomer. So it was my college boyfriend. He's one of my dearest friends to this day. He's a wonderful human being. So, you know, like our entire relationship and everything about it was wonderful. It was a great relationship. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. He's a fantastic human being. So that experience was good. It was safe and it was respectful and it was it's what you would hope that the experience would be at the age of 19.
Yeah. So were you excited going into your first woman experience?
Remember when you said I could pass on things? I'm like trying to debate in this moment as to whether or not I want to like go into this story. So on my first date with my boyfriend in college, on my very, very first date, so we actually met when I was in high school and I was illegally going to the bar in high school. But I had a rule that I wouldn't pick anybody up or drink any alcohol while I was there. I was just there to dance. So we met. He's a year older than me. So we met. He was legally allowed to drink. I was refusing to drink while I was there. We met at the bar. He wanted my number, but I refused to give it to him because I had a rule. I wasn't going to pick anybody up at the bar. So he ended up picking me up at a bar a year later when I was legal. And it's a small city in Lethbridge. And so he picked me up and he had my phone number for 6 weeks before he called me. 6 weeks before he phoned me. And so when he phoned me and I'm like, who is this? Like, I don't even remember who you are. Right. He says his name. I'm like, can you give me a little bit more than that? And then like I was trying to be a jerk, but I wasn't because I really couldn't place it because it had been so long and I'd known his name like 2 times over the course of 2 years. Right. So, so on our very first date, like we're sitting there, we're having dinner, and one of the first things that comes out of my mouth is, and I have not been with a woman since I kissed a girl in grade 2, right? And I'm just like, I just want you to understand, like, I'm bisexual. I date men, I date women. At this, I haven't dated a woman, but I'm like, right, I'm fluid. And he's like, okay, cool. So he did what every 19-year-old boy would do and like pre-planted the seed in his brain that at some point in time he was going to cross that, right?
Yeah.
He's going to cross it off his list. And so he did a really good job at setting up that scenario. And he set it up with like one of his classmates. And like, I remember the day that he introduced me to her, he hadn't actually brought to me yet the idea that this is what he was working on, right? Like
my new project.
Yeah, this was what he was, and we've been dating for like 8 or 9 or 10 months or something at this point in time. But he was working on this thing, and like I'd already said, like I would be open to the idea. Like those are conversations we had had. So it's not like he was manipulating me in any way. But he hadn't stepped forward and said, "Hey, I think I know a person." So like right. Yeah, so he didn't do that part, right? So like he was working on a project and I was kind of oblivious. But the moment he introduced me to her, I was like, I know what's happening, right? Like I know why you're introducing me to her, and she just. I'm grateful. I'm grateful because he did things super, super gently, and he allowed things to happen in a way that I needed them to happen, which is I can't just do random encounters. Like they just don't work for me. And so he like facilitated a point where me and this person could connect, where we could generate, a relationship or a friendship or just something beyond, like just the act of sex, which was important to me. And so like he introduced us, and then it was right before the end of the semester and he was going off to Calgary to go work. And he's just like, hey, like you two should hang out for the next 2 weeks while I'm working before she goes back home to BC after school. Like you two should just hang out with each other because who else are you going to hang out with here? Right. Like, so he literally facilitated us being in this really uncomfortable 2 weeks where I can speak for myself. I can't necessarily speak for her, but for 2 weeks, we had 2 people who were like, definitely attracted to each other. There was definitely tension. We hung out all of the time. If we weren't working, we were together, and we hung out all of the time. But we were both, we knew that we were in monogamous relationships. So like we both honored that boundary that was there. But he gave us 2 weeks to build up a crap load of tension, right, so that he could set up this scenario. So now we reached the point where all parties are open and in agreement. Okay,
Yeah.
so all parties are open and in agreement that at some point in time this can happen, right? So the day it's supposed to happen, we go over to her apartment and there's an extra person there and we're really confused as to who this extra person is, right? And so he's some younger guy, used to play on like the WHL hockey team that was down there, and he was doing everything he could to try and pick up this girl, right? That was his game plan, is to pick up this girl. And meanwhile, my boyfriend is like, dude, you are not screwing this up for me, right? So there's like this literal battle of egos between this super young guy, right? And then this like classmate, like he's like, no, like you can try a different time, but today is not your day. Like to the point where when this guy got drunk and was going to have to sleep over, he's like, hey, I'm sober. I'm driving you home.
Then I'm coming back. Ladies, I'm coming back.
And because, you know, by nature, I get really shy. So I remember, you know, like in the beginning, you know, like literally in the beginning of the moment when things are actually starting to go down, like I literally froze. Like I literally all of a sudden, like I couldn't even undress myself. I was just like, oh God, this is a thing. This is overwhelming. I don't know if I know what I'm doing. And like just this list of wonderful things. Yeah.
They're just like, it's okay. Crisp high five. We got.
I'm too sober for this moment.
I need a box of wine.
I've never thought that I should have drank before having sex before, but I probably should have been drunker that day.
I love that you shared that story, Tara. I love it. This next song is like one of my favorite songs, and I just went and bought the album the other day because I miss it. I wanted to hear it on my record player. Right, some Fleetwood Mac, Dreams.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Man, and how do you pick one Fleetwood Mac song?
I don't know.
Like this whole entire album. Oh man, and Rumors on vinyl.
I know, it's so.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, I have Rumors on vinyl. The only other thing I think that competes with it, and I don't even know if it really does compete with it. What is it? Wild Horses, the Rolling Stones. The album with Wild Horses. That one is like, those ones are like right up there for me. They're so good. I love them.
My mom was saying that when I was younger, I used to fall asleep on the speaker listening to Rolling Stones. That's how much she used to play. Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you love that song so much? Just obviously Fleetwood Mac, 100%. But
I mean, I was sitting there and I was like, zero questions. Like the first thing you're like, pick 10 songs. I was like, okay, Fleetwood Mac song. Like that was on my list from the very beginning. It was also one of the ones where it's like, how do I choose one?
Yeah.
How do I choose one? You know, I mean, the bass riff on that one is so identifiable, right? That the moment that it starts to pop out, you just know it's coming. I mean, honestly, yeah, Christine is a great vocal on it overall. I could have picked any song from that record, to be quite honest. You put that record in and it basically like looped me up for the evening. So
yeah, I'm the same way. This next song, I don't think I've ever heard before. It's Keith Urban, and I'm not like.
You ever heard this?
Into country.
Keith Urban, Somebody Like You. Like this is legit. This is like the summer of 2003. Like it was like the song of the year. It's one of the most recognizable banjo lines of the 21st century. Like it is like it. I can't believe you don't know it.
But I never like I don't mind country. Yeah. But I haven't been exposed to a lot of country music. But I absolutely loved it. It was a really good song.
It's a great song. Keith Urban is a great writer. He's an epic guitar player. Like he's unbelievable player. If you just watch him play live, he's just so insane when he plays. But this song, like I think sentimentally, I have like a huge love on for this song. So the same boyfriend I was talking about, we planned this date one time and we were like in the basement of residence at the college in Lethbridge. And so like my job was basically to kind of like sort of set up the date, and he was going to bring the dinner, right? So I built this little like picnic in the basement of the state, and it's literally an unfinished basement. So it's like cement floor and right bare walls with insulation, like not even boarded up, literally just like in right cement insulation 2x4s, right? So it's ugly as heck down there. So I like set up this little picnic, and then I put these little streamers down and kind of create this little tent thing. And then I like cut out a cardboard and I made like little stars, and I put tinfoil around them so they'd be shimmery in the basement. And so he brought dinner. I don't remember what dinner was, but he brought dinner, and he made a mix CD. And this was the first song on the mix CD. And so it's like, I mean, like just that story and that person and that song, like that song is like the first song. So you press play, it begins this really beautiful date that I have with this really beautiful person.
I absolutely love it. What is one thing that somebody that we wouldn't know about you, Tara? Like, what's something that you kind of hide from people until you really get to know them?
My boobs.
I don't have that.
You've never seen them. You've never seen them. We've known each other for 12 years and you've still never seen them. So that says a lot.
Many times. It's like a one-sided friendship here. I'm not too happy about that. Do you have any like hidden talents that we don't know about?
Oh, I am kind of like a random person. So like I'm not a mechanic, but I can fix a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like I have a 68 Mustang that I'm working on for my mom that I'm enjoying rebuilding. I hunt every year. I eat what I shoot, so it's been a delicious barbecue. Delicious barbecue season. I have like a really cool memory most of the time. So like when I'm not tired, I remember things basically verbatim. So don't say shit around me. You don't want me to repeat back to you. Because you can't tell me it was kind of like something, because I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like. Yeah. I'm going to tell you, no, this is exactly what you said. The recorder went off in my brain. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know. Those would be, I just do a lot of really random things.
Yeah, I think you do too, but I think you left out, you play guitar, you sing, that's
I think everybody, like, you can literally,
right? I have a
it's not really random
that I haven't played in 10 years, so I can still call myself a drummer.
Oh yeah, I was literally playing it before we got on the call, making noise. I have to live in places that don't annoy my neighbors. It's basically my right. Need allow dogs, right? Soundproofed. Those are my two conditions for living somewhere.
Speaking of dogs, because I've seen them in the background there. Would you trade? Do you have one or two?
Just one.
Oh, so would you trade that dog for $1 million?
No.
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 Are you sure?
Yeah.
$1 million. You could buy it back for 20 grand.
I mean, I understand your logic, but like karmically, that would be horrific. Yeah. Then the dog would come back and he would like bite me, or he'd get cancer right away, and he'd be like, "Look, bitch,
I'm gonna make you suffer for."
Yeah, exactly. Like, how could you do that to me?
So this is our last song, Tara.
Okay. Bill Withers.
Okay, great song.
I mean, like, he's another guy. How do you choose one song? How do you choose one song? He's amazing. He was just a fantastic writer. And I don't know if you know this, but he recorded his first album, or wrote his first album, in a utility closet at the school he was a janitor. Do you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So like he was literally like paying his dues, but just writing good jams, hanging out in a broom closet like Harry Potter, but cooler.
That's awesome. So before we let you go today, do you have I just wanted you to plug your stuff. Like, do you have an album? Do you have a website for your music? I'd love to.
So, I mean, I'm actually in the process of recording stuff right now. We're narrowing down the song selection to 10, and then I'll probably just record the rest acoustically.
This might take some time, because it took you 14 months to get me 10 songs on a podcast.
No. I've already picked the 10 songs. So we're like, I didn't pick them. I like sent them out to a council of people, And they were like, we love everything. So I was like, cool, that was helpful. So yeah, so I have stuff that we're starting recording now, that'll be coming out. I'm hoping before the end of the year, but we will see. I work with a really great guy, Paul Van Kampen. He runs a studio called Magnetic Audio, and he does a great job. I have my Facebook page. I'm on YouTube. I have stuff on Spotify.
So is it just
iTunes,
under your
wherever
first
you
and
find it.
last name?
First and last name, Tara Warburton. You can find it. There's 5 or 6 songs that are already released out there. Videos are, you can go all the way back to 2009 if you really want to, and see some stuff. It's definitely grown a lot over the last few years, but there'll be some more stuff coming out. Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much, Tara, for joining us today on Music Junkies. It was so much fun. I haven't seen you forever, and I'm so grateful. You shared your story and your time with us, and I hope you had a good time.
I did. I had fun. Hopefully I get to see you in person soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks so much.
Hey, Junkies, thanks for tuning in today. If you like the show, obviously like it, right? If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you want to be a junkie and be a part of the show, I would love that. Reach out to me on Instagram under music.junkies. And let's have you on the show. I hope you have a great day.